Meet the Crew with your host, Lloyd Ellis.
Welcome back to Meet the Crew. I'm your host, Lloyd Ellis, and we have an amazing day of guests for you. Well, more like one guest for this day, which will be the day after or the day before, or maybe the day whenever it happens of when this airs. But before we get into that, I'm going to make sure and get rid of some little housekeeping things for you all out there in your interweb world. And that's the normal. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you hit that little, I don't have a bell. Let's go with the trademark. You know who this is. Ding, 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 ding. I'm not going to flip it around because I don't want to get copyright striked or any of that stuff. If you don't hit that bell, if you don't hit that subscribe, you don't know when the next rock star might come up. Just saying, just saying. So make sure you do that. All right, ladies and gems, boys and girls, do you know who we have in store for you today? Well, you might have saw him in the clip, but I'm going to put the name with that beautiful burly fish. Y'all know how we do. B-Man, you there?
Yeah. What's up, Lloyd?
Introduce yourself, my friend.
Hey, man, it's Brian. It's Brian.Payne.
Brian.Payne, ladies and gentlemen, Brian.Payne. Yay! No applause back there in the peanut gallery. See how y'all are back there.
Man, the crowds are at home.
The crowds are at home. Well, Brian, where are you from, brother?
Well, I call Louisville home right now, but have for quite a few years. I grew up in Owensboro, Kentucky, and lived in Louisville since '97.
So what brought you to Louisville, if I may ask? Did I say it right? Louisville?
Louisville. I came to Louisville looking for what I couldn't find in Lexington, no offense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I lived there for a little while too. But no, I came here playing music and living with some guys that we were all in a band together, and fell in love with the town and never left.
What are the folks out there that don't know who you are? What are some of the tricks of the trade that you do in our wonderful industry that we call live events?
Well, I started on the front end of things. These days I handle a lot of sales, pre-production, advancing of shows, things like that. Mm-hmm. Designing systems, things. Every now and then I still get behind an audio console and push the faders and make the noise, but for the most part, it's just designing shows and selling shows and advancing shows.
How'd you get into this industry?
Well, I played drums in a band, and many years ago, we won't say how long ago, I was the guy that took it upon himself to figure out how to use the sound system that the band had, so that try to make sure we sounded good, which was next to impossible back then, because we weren't very good. But and from there, getting into doing some studio work, recording with the band and things like that. That developed a friendship with a studio owner who also happened to work at a performing arts center in Owensboro called the River Park Center. And so I started working there, doing a lot of audio, lighting, load-ins, load-outs, off-Broadway type stuff, some bluegrass type stuff, those types of events that were held there. So that's kind of how I got into it. So fell in love with it and never looked back.
I love it. I love it. Well, current state of times that we are in case anybody out there hasn't watched another episode or living on a rock per se, we are in 2021. Thank little baby Jesus we got through that 2020. And hopefully things are looking on the brighter side for our industry, but it is still tough. How has this pandemic in general affected you professionally or even with your family, if I may ask?
Well, professionally, we shut down, in March, a year ago. And we laid off all 25 employees, including all the owners, just laid everybody off, like all the business just disappeared, So then we had to pivot and figure out how to attract business with no employees and how to do things safely and keep some money coming in to try to keep, the business open so that we could eventually, once we got past this, bring everybody back, because we're a big family. That was really hard, really dark time for me. It's like having to tell 25 people, I'm sorry, but you're laid off due to no fault of mine, no fault of yours, no fault of, the companies in general. It's not like a mistake we made or something like that. It's just, hey, we can't do this right now. It's a pandemic. And that was really hard, and so then we had to figure out how to do events. And I've been lucky that I was one of the people that came back early, I guess just because of my skill set and breadth of knowledge in terms of, sales and design and actually handling shows and stuff. And so we were lucky, we were able to partner with some folks and do several, large streaming events for existing clients. That's helped tide us through, things. On a family side of things, it was hard not being able to see, my mom, or my stepmom, and not really getting together with my brother and his wife and my niece and nephews, throughout the year. And that was hard, but I've got a great group of friends that we're like, we still need to see each other, And so we found ways to do it safely, whether it was backyard gatherings and things, and or little bonfires or whatever out at somebody's house, where we could all be distanced and masked and still see each other, and maybe dance together distanced and things like that. But and then even more personally, Lindsay and I, it really brought us closer together, because we that's all we had was each other, really. It's just she and I and Sashi, our dog. But so we started doing more exercising, taking hikes, taking walks, and things like that together. Started cooking together, every day, whereas before we would eat out at restaurants a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now we were cooking dinner at home every day, together, which was fantastic, and really helped bring us even closer together. So
I love how you hit home early on with the fact that we are family.
Yeah.
The industry that we work in, and this is something that we make sure that everybody that watches this, and we hit on this every episode, somewhere or fashion, but we like to make sure that is said, that in this industry that we are in, we are not a number. And coming from somebody that represents a major heavy hitter out there in the production world, production company, event house, and for you to say that out of your own mouth kind of puts the nail in the board of, we are not a number. We say it and we hate to say it, but there's several production companies out there that you can get the gear at, but it is the people behind the scenes that keep the clients coming back, keep the events happening.
Oh yeah.
And it is amazing hearing you say that. And it just wasn't like something that was forced. It was real, because it is real. It hurt you, and you could tell that it hurt you, and it hurt the upper management team to say, hey, we have to let these folks go. It's hard to say, my brother and sister in arms, that I have to let you go. I'm letting myself go for a temporary. And we're trying to figure out ways, trying to reinvent the wheel of how to bring everybody back in order to have events again. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And again, that's something that every single episode, we like to make sure that people know, that we are not out there just to be like, okay, well, this person's just this number at this, we just need this many bodies and that body is just going to fulfill this event. No, because if you do that, your event's going to tank, because you're not going to have somebody that has the rapport with the client, with the company, with the whatever, in order to make sure that the event's going to happen and you're going to have that comfort level.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that coming from our relationship, you've hired me on events, and knowing that the rapport and the mental background that I have with doing events, you've been like, hey, here's a truck, here's a list, go do it. And you have the comfort in knowing that I'm going to give you 200 to 2000% of my effort in order to make sure that we have that client coming back again next week.
Oh yeah.
And there's not a lot of people out there in this industry that do that. There's not a lot of people out there in this industry that have that trust for people to do that. And that takes time and to build up. That takes encouragement. And it's very encouraging for me to know that you guys trust me enough to handle those events for you. And it's amazing to know that one day when we get back to this, when we get that call, it's going to be a definite yes. A lot of people have had to switch gears and change up what they're doing in order to feed their families. And I can't wait to get back on some of these live events with you guys again. I can't wait to be able to see my road family again, because we spend so much time together at these events that if we're not like family, if we're not a good hang, it's going to be miserable out there.
I know.
It's going to be sheer misery. So with that being said, let me segue on to our next little bit. What are you currently doing these days, if I may ask?
Well, trying to still find ways to, keep business rolling in, working on a lot of virtual events, a lot of streaming events, same principle to the shows, even the same shows, for a lot of them, just completely virtual, and working with the same core group of clients and things like that. Obviously, a lot of my entertainment business is just not there. But in terms of the corporate work, it's like those large corporate meetings and things like that, they're still happening, and partnered with some local, video studios. I've been doing a lot of recording with my own band and with some friends' band. I've started since I've had the free time to do it, I've started doing, mixing for folks, and things, and a little bit of mastering. I've taken dipped my toes into the mastering waters, so to speak, which is something I've never done before, but it's a very interesting whole new ballgame, and looking at things musically in a different way, rather than mixing it, trying to take what's already mixed and, finesse it.
Well, before I let you go, if there's one thing and one thing only that the folks out there on the interwebs don't know about Brian.Payne, what might that be?
Man, I'm a truly blessed individual. I love what I get to do for a living, and people that I get to work with, people I get to form friendships with, getting to work with you on shows and then forming a friendship with you and stuff. We're just so lucky in this industry. We get to make emotion and excitement happen for thousands of people, and I'm just very passionate about what I get to do, and I'm very lucky and very fortunate at what I get to do for a living. And I hope that day comes back, sooner rather than later, so that we can all experience that mass emotion together.
Well, how can people reach out to you if they want a mix session with you, if they want to master, how can people reach out to Brian.Payne?
Man, they can hit me up on Facebook. They can hit me up on Instagram. Instagram's @Brian.Payne. Don't ask me how I got lucky and got the very first Brian.Payne on Instagram, but I did. You can reach me at C&H Audio Visual Services, link on our website, chavs.net. And hopefully the Audio Bond mix room that you see me here in will have a website live at some point, but not for a while yet. So.
Well, we'll make sure to put all of that contact information in the description so that way people can click on it, and then plus it'll be in a little trail end at the end of the video. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I bring you Brian.Payne.
I'm Brian.Payne, and you have met the crew.
Meet the crew with your host, Lloyd Ellis.